The westerns done by other directors at that time were cheap films. I was the one who started the Italian westerns, and my films were cheap too. The ones before Sergio Leone. So there was no outstanding western or director better than Sergio Leone at that time, and even later, because the Western genre was considered as the intellectuals as something cheap, not worth doing it, while Sergio Leone loved them, and I loved the Western. I was a lawyer before becoming a film producer. I wanted to be involved and become a film producer. So I made a search, a market search, and I found out from this search that the audience liked, 80% of the audience liked the Westerns, 80%. At that time, I also realized that the Americans were making like a couple of Westerns every couple of years. So I thought that for the law of the demand and the offer, if I made a pretty good Western, it would be successful. There were also very important reasons why they were shot in Spain. The cost of shooting in Spain was 25% of the cost of shooting in Italy. 25%, 1/4.
For me, work with Leone was, for a screenwriter and director, it's like marriage. You find the guy with you can share your ideas, you have the same wavelength. I met Sergio when he was just kind of adventurous assistant director. I was 22, I wrote 3 thrillers in a row. I published 3 thrillers in a row, and he read them, and we found a nice understanding. And he contacted me. It was a little tricky, and I was fascinated by his intelligence and talent, but I was a little scared of the movie people, And I did go to Milan to work in advertising. And he kept calling me on the phone and say, "What are you doing there? Come here, come here." And one day he called me, he said, "Go to see a Kurosawa movie called Yojimbo." I said, "Why?" I said, "Because it could be a Western, Italian Western. I can't believe that." I was just married. I told my wife, "It's called this Leone now. Tell me I'm not at home." And so I've lost this chance. But he called me again to rewrite something in for a few dollars more.
Saludos, amigo. I reckon he picked the wrong trail.
Or he could have picked the wrong town.
His childhood drove him to making Westerns. That's the only thing he wanted to make. And in fact, what he did was he copied Kurosawa, the famous Japanese director, on Yojimbo. He saw Yojimbo maybe 100 times. And he ran the, in a moviola when he was doing the script.
Get 3 coffins ready.
And he would run the scene over and over and over and stage it more or less the same way that Kurosawa staged it. Now, you can't go wrong.
My mistake, 4 coffins.
Charlie Bronson was the exact actor he wanted. The look, the strength, he emanated enormous power. Charlie told me he turned it down. He said, I'm making an Italian picture about a Western. He didn't even read the script. He ruled the day, of course.
Clint was very, very smart. It was like in the movies, silent, and you couldn't understand what he had in his mind, really. And I never imagined he was so talented, really, because Sergio used to say jokingly that he had 2 expressions, no? With a hat and without a hat. But he was very smart.
Leone created that kind of hero who was silent and visual. I mean, Clint Eastwood was a very sweet, soft-spoken, nice guy when I saw him in Rome. He took this guy, fit him with a hat and his costume. To him, the costume was essential because his whole idea of a movie is visual, as it should be. What it looks like on the screen was the most important thing to him. That's why they were so good.
When a husband finds a man in his wife's bedroom, you're never sure how he's going to react.
The fact of the matter is, I say, Clint was sort of reticent as a guy. He was soft-spoken, and he wasn't the kind of guy that offered any kind of threat.
You were warned to get out of town. Once and for all.
But Leone put the threat in his image. He did it. I mean, if you think about it, Clint showed very little, and that's exactly what Leone wanted. You can picture him as you want. Jean-Marie Volonté, brilliant actor, very intelligent, and he was the best actor in those first 2 pictures.
Everybody talks about Ramon.
And many speak of you, too.
He had a career that should have gone way up. I mean, he had everything. He had the looks, the talent, and the emotion, the power as an actor. But he was an intellectual, and he decided not to make any movie unless it fit his political thoughts. He was very left-wing actor. And he turned down a lot of stuff. I mean, really big movies. He wouldn't do them unless he worked with what they called committed directors, meaning they were directors of the left, serious directors like Francesco Rosi, very good director. I worked with him, actually. And he wouldn't do anything else.
I think that Leone was very conscious to invent spaghetti western. That's a style, that's a new kind of approach to classical kind of movies. So it was loyal to his style, I think. There was a movie theater in Florence called the Super Cinema, where the owner liked this movie and kept on. They show it again in Rome and the other theaters. You know, the word spread, and but you know, the critics until the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly scored. You know, they were absolutely Western, Italian West. Wow.
Clint helped for the Fistful of Dollars being successful, and for the Fistful of Dollars allowed Clint to become a much better known star.
You mean you don't admire peace?
It's not really easy to like something you know nothing about.
Leone was a different kind of director, actually, but still, he was enormously loved by movie makers all over Hollywood. All of Europe claimed this movie as the best movie of the year, and in France they show it every year. There was no doubt. This man was part of cinema history.
fight.